Morbid Facts, Part 653. Christina Formella, a 30-year-old special ed teacher and soccer coach at a high school in Illinois, is facing 55 felony charges tied to alleged misconduct with a student that reportedly began when he was just 14 years old. Authorities claim the inappropriate relationship lasted nearly 2 years and involved over 50 encounters, many occurring on school grounds during class hours and some at the teacher's own home while her husband was away. The case began after the student's mother found concerning messages on the boy's phone, prompting Formella's arrest in March of 2025. Investigators later uncovered writings where Formella accused the student of cheating on her and even mentioned plans to take her husband's money and disappear. But despite these allegations, her husband has continued to stand by her, even accompanying her to court appearances while holding her hand. Formella has pleaded not guilty to her charges and is out on bond under strict conditions. If convicted, she faces up to 60 years in prison. Morbid Facts, Part 315. In 2006, Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in the Florida lottery and tried to use it to help others, giving away large sums to friends, family, and even strangers. But sadly, his generosity made him a target. A woman named Doris Dee Moore pretended to help manage his finances, slowly taking control of his assets while isolating him from loved ones. In 2009, Abraham suddenly vanished without a trace. Months later, his body was found buried beneath a concrete slab behind Dee Dee's property, shot twice in the chest and covered with lime. In 2012, Moore was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Florence Lawrence, often called the first movie star, rose to fame in the early 1900s and became one of the first film actors to be publicly credited by name. At the height of her career, she suffered a devastating injury in 1915 when a staged fire spiraled out of control, leaving her with severe burns and a fractured spine. Universal Studios refused to pay her medical bills, and her career never recovered. Over the years, she faded into obscurity, taking uncredited roles and struggling with chronic pain and depression. When she died in 1938, she was buried in an unmarked grave, as Hollywood had all but forgotten the woman who helped define it. Morbid Facts, Part 300. In 1995, 3 men from Houston built a complex, fully functioning jetpack. But shortly after its first test flight, one of the guys was brutally murdered on his front porch. The second guy was kidnapped and just barely escaped with his life. And the third guy spent 8 years in prison for kidnapping the second guy. The murder case is still unsolved, and the jetpack has remained missing for decades. This terrifying clip shows South African boxer Simiso Buthelezi throwing punches at thin air. The fight was stopped, and Simiso was immediately put into a medically induced coma at the hospital. But he later died from what doctors say was a severe brain bleed. The most divorced person of monogamous marriages was Baptist minister Glenn Wolfe. He had married 31 separate times, mostly to teenagers, because he claimed he spoke their language. When Wolfe passed away from heart failure in 1997, his body went unclaimed, and none of the 28 women he married attended the funeral.